Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik wa zid ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammad. Yang berbahagia Dean, Deputy Deans, Head of Departments, Professors, Associate Professors, Academic Members, Technicians, and beloved researchers, presenters, participants, and audience. Welcome all to the third day. The final day is a second session related to research generic skills in International Postgraduate Colloquium and Research Poster Competition, jointly organized by the Pamilia of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, IIUM, and Sultan Azlan Shah University, USAS, in collaboration with Asian Islamic Universities Association, AIUA. I am Sayyid Muhammad Mohsin, faculty in the Department of Fiqh and Usul al-Fiqh in IIUM, and I'll be, inshallah, moderating this session. Let's begin this session with the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Once again, welcome all. As we know, this session is all about motivation, which is the one thing we need as researchers with us always. In the course of writing thesis, students and researchers often are in dire need of motivation. How to lift up the spirit when they stumble upon various issues, hard to find the topic, starting trouble, writer's block, don't know how to move on, sometimes don't know how to deal with the supervisors, feeling severely demotivated, mentally depressed, so on and so forth, or struggling to balance our academic life with activism, family, and other matters. Sometimes we don't know even the reasons, especially in this trying time of COVID-19. We need more encouragement. International Postgraduate Colloquium Committee felt that this issue should be properly met and therefore decided to organize this session. We have two distinguished speakers with much expertise in this area to give us talks and insights, and at the end they will be answering our questions, inshallah. They are Dr. Pamilia Loudarnathan from IIUM and Associate Professor Dr. Mohmad Amin Idris from USAS. Before I introduce the first speaker, let me share with you the format of our session. At the first, each speaker will be given 30 minutes to share their thoughts. After that, there will be a Q&A session. For that, you can type your question anytime you wish, and I'll read your question to the speaker, inshallah. For smooth running of the program, audience are not allowed to unmute and ask the question. Hope you bear with us and will be generous by writing your questions in the chat box. Hope all of you will grab this moment and seize the opportunity to raise the questions. At the end, there will be a photography session. That time, all participants are requested to switch on their cameras for the group photo. Okay, let's begin the session. And our first speaker is Dr. Pamilia Loudarnathan. Dr. Pamilia is a clinical psychologist and a lecturer at the Department of Psychology, IIUM. She has over 10 years of experience working as a clinical psychologist in the government and non-governmental organizations. She earned her master's degree in clinical and counseling psychology from International Islamic University, Malaysia, and her doctorate in psychology from the same university. She has also been trained and received a certification in person-centered counseling. Pamilia is now the coordinator of the Psychology Service Unit and an enthusiastic member of IIUM Mental Health and Psychosocial Care Team under the Kulliya of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and the Human Sciences. Without further ado, let me hand this virtual floor to Dr. Pamilia. Yes, Doctor.
So much, Dr. Said, for that beautiful introduction. Can I just know if is it clear? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Dr. Said?
Yes, I can.
All right. Okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much for that wonderful welcome. First of all, salam and welcome everyone. A warm welcome and also a warm salam to our Dean, Professor Shukran, also our Deputy Dean of Responsible Research and Innovation, Dr. Haslina, and to all of our wonderful distinguished guests and professors and to all of our wonderful doctors and also students and scholars and everyone listening in on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for joining us and we appreciate you allocating time during this busy period of time. We thank you so, so much. I'm so excited to actually share this with you because I know that a lot of students have actually shared this difficulty that they're facing in feeling motivated, in feeling enthusiastic and passionate in being able to continue their writing of their thesis. And this is something that all of us can remember and really be able to relate to. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of techniques and also a little bit of tips, God willing, that this can be useful and helpful to you. So allow me to share my at the moment. Okay, can you see this, everyone? Is it visible, Dr. Said? All right.
Yes.
So our title is How Do I Motivate Myself to Write My Thesis? Now, this is something that I know a lot of people even talk to me about this. I have students who just spoke to me recently about this as well. This is something very interesting for us to actually explore further. So first of all, I do not know if any of you can relate to this. This is a picture that if you are on YouTube, then you can type in the chat which part can you relate to more, the left picture or the right one. So the left one is where you feel overwhelmed and you're not hiding it anymore. It's all over your face. The right one is the one where you're able to still hide it, but inside you are going through all kinds of things. Outside you look very composed and calm, but in fact inside it is a different story. And how many of you actually can relate to this little boy over here? So this guy actually is okay, on Monday he relaxes, he has a nice time, he sleeps, he reads comic books, text, spends a lot of time playing, watching TV, Netflix. And then one day before the supervisor says, I really need you to submit your progress report form and I don't really see any progress yet, but I need to actually have something concrete to write as well. Can you please show me your progress? I need it by Monday. And this is what happens on Sunday. So this is usually, can you relate to this one? So this is what a lot of students actually tell me that they're going through as well. Now, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What happened during those days actually? Now, this does not mean that you are lazy. It does not mean that you totally don't care about your thesis. Believe me, I know that it does not mean that. It's just got a little bit of a tiny bit of ingredient that is needed. And that ingredient is called motivation. That is one of the ingredients. I know there are other ingredients that you might be thinking, no, I'm motivated. That's just something else that I need. But most people share the same ingredient, and that's called motivation. So sometimes we just need a little bit of help with that because a lot of people are going through this. They have a lot of chaos going through in their mind. They have confusion, there's doubt, there's uncertainty. So this is some common reasons. But can I actually hear from you? What are your reasons? So I'm not sure if you can actually access this, but I'm going to show you in just a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of students that I talk to, including the student that you're seeing right now, me in the past as well. In the past, what I was going through was sometimes we tend to wait for the perfect condition where all the planets will align and everything is perfect. And then we say to ourselves that I'm only going to start writing when I feel comfortable, when I feel ready, when I feel like it, or when I don't have much things on that day. Then I'm going to start writing. But in reality, that day doesn't always come. And then that's one of the reasons that we end up procrastinating. So don't worry, I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks in a little bit. But in the meantime, can I ask you if you can actually access through your phones menti.com? If you can type in your phone menti.com and then you can actually type this code over here. So the code is 9036 7095, or you can just scan the QR code that you see over there. because I was hoping that we can actually hear from you what you face as students. What are some of your difficulties in writing your thesis? I think this will be a really good way for us to know what you might be going through. I will also be typing as well, maybe what I went through before. So please type menti.com in your phone, and you can enter the code here, 90367095, or you can scan the QR code that you see over here. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few tiny bit of minutes if you can actually type this, everyone. So any professors as well listening in, maybe you can kind of like go through the memory lane right now, go through a little bit of nostalgia, try to see what did I face last time. Now, maybe our current students might relate to that. It might actually be helpful for them as well. So I'm gonna now go to that particular place and we can see, let me just see, yeah, just give me a moment. So I'm just gonna come there. Okay, I see that some people have actually tuned into that. Okay, let me just share one more time. Okay, so methodology. All right. Anything else? Anyone else can keep it coming. So you just have to go to Mendit. Okay, lack of sources. Lack of sources available. These are all very intellectual responses. It is okay if your response is also something as I just don't feel like it very often. I'm stuck. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going deeper. Okay. I'm stuck. Homesickness, right? Overwhelmed with so many literature and data. Okay. There's so much to read and there's so much to write about. So, and then some of you are feeling homesick with the current situation of the pandemic. Okay. The literature review as well. Okay. To find the gap. All right. Anything else? Anyone else? To find the gap. Wow. Okay. So the statement of problem, how to justify, it goes blank in the middle of writing. Okay, so I think these are very good ones. I'm gonna come back to this in a bit. So I just want to go back to our previous slide just now, but I thank you so much for sharing. Keep it coming, everyone. So it's kind of like you feel like you're stuck and you go blank. You feel like you know what you're gonna write, but all of a sudden you're just stuck and you don't really know what exactly am I supposed to do actually? What am I supposed to actually write about? What am I doing? So sometimes all of these can really cause a feeling of stuckness. And that's what we're here for. Now, let me ask you three questions. We're going to get our heart in the right place right now. So the first question that I want to ask you, do you think you can do it? Honestly, do you feel that you can complete your thesis and your writing? That's the first question. Can you do it? If you're saying, yeah, I can, but okay, that's good. You answered the first question. That's good. That means you believe that you can. It's just that there are some obstacles. What will you get if you finish your thesis? Can you think about this question? If you can actually think about it or write it down if you want, what will you get when you finish your thesis? What exactly will you get after that? Are you going to say a certificate? Because that's extrinsic motivation. So we call it extrinsic and intrinsic. If you're going to say to me that, you know what, Pam, when I finish my thesis, what I will get is I will be able to get a PhD. And when I do get a PhD, I will be able to use my skills and knowledge and expertise and influence in such a great way to make more impact in the country, in the nation, and God willing, in the world globally as well. Okay, now we're going for intrinsic motivation already. So what will I get? The third one, is it worth it? How badly do you want what will I get? How badly do you want the outcome that you will get in question number two? How much do you want it? Is it really worth it? Is it worth so much to you? Now, do you know what we're actually doing here? This is actually something called, this is under the room's expectancy theory. A little bit of sharing for you. This is how human beings work. Well, do we actually feel that we have the ability to kind of like achieve that particular kind of thing that we want? If I do this effort, will I really get that? Can I really do it? The second one, will that actually yield the benefit, some kind of a benefit? And the third one, how badly do I want that benefit? Now this is based on real scientific evidence. So if you can actually find the connection here, you're kind of like on the way, on the right place, kind of like you're exploring your intrinsic motivation, because knowing your why will help you discover your how. if you don't know your why yet, then it's going to be kind of challenging to move forward. So push everything aside right now and just focus on your why. Why am I here? This is something I always ask my students as well in undergrad as well. Why did you take up psychology? Why did you choose UIA? And what exactly do you plan to do with this degree? Because if you don't know your why, then you wouldn't really be able to see further. That's the first step. So, what is your intrinsic motivation of pursuing postgraduate studies? What is that deep desire that you plan to get? It's not just a certificate. I remember hearing somebody tell me, why you do your PhD actually, yeah? Actually, why? It's just to get the title, is it? Or what do you get honestly when you get your PhD? Honestly, so they couldn't see why, because this person who asked me was already earning like a lot, and they were somebody in society and everything. So they were asking me, actually, why would you do that? And then I started to share with them that, you know what, the amount of benefit that you can give to others, knowledge sharing, knowledge dissemination, and also the influence that you can have to actually make a change in policy making, and also in different kinds of areas that you can actually give back to society. So when you can think of it in that way, then you realize that this is bigger. The kind of picture that you're in, the role that you've been given by God, the calling that you're in, the purpose that you're in, your journey becomes huge and becomes very meaningful. So the second part, the first one is knowing your why. Tip number two, okay, technique number two is managing your expectations and your standards. Now, remember, we need to manage our standards and expectations. Most students, including me before, we usually have this thing like where we feel so kind of like a perfectionist. We have this thing where we really want to do perfectly, and I did have that as well. And sometimes that can become an obstacle because we wait for things to get perfect. We wait for that particular number of maybe participants, SME, or certain kind of thing that we want to achieve. Sometimes if we're able to actually work with what we have, that can actually help us to kind of like plummet through, because sometimes waiting around for things to get perfect until we reach that perfect standard, or maybe our writing and we feel like it's not good enough, believe me, we will never feel that your writing is good enough as a student. And I'm not sure if everyone can relate to this. No matter how much you have done and finished, even at the end, at the moment when you're about to submit, you will always get this feeling like it's not good enough, and I still need to perfect it, and I still need to improve on it. That feeling doesn't go away. So believe me, if you're waiting for that feeling to go away, it doesn't. So the thing is, that is why we are so blessed to have wonderful supervisors, because they're going to help us, give us very constructive criticism, good feedback, and help us through, because that's going to be very much helping us to get another point of view, and they're going to guide you through every section. So it's up to us to realize that, you know what, it's okay if it's not perfect, but I have done it and I'm going to try to submit it, because then I'm moving forward. If it's wrong, if it's not perfect, it's okay. I can still edit it. I can still work on it. I remember my supervisors asking me like, just give me your draft. And that that this perfectionism came again. I was thinking to myself like, can you give me some more time? I'm not ready. And I remember my supervisor saying to me, that's okay. Just give us what you have. Just give us what you have. It's okay. We'll never be perfect. So I'm thankful to have wonderful supervisors that helped a lot. And I do that to my students too. Actually, I now carry that knowledge, that how I was given that space. I give that to my students too, and I tell them, please give me your ugly draft. I want the ugly draft, not the perfect draft. So that just helps them feel like, okay, I think what I have is definitely not ugly. I can give that. It's just to kind of like a brain trick. The third technique that I'm going to share with you, everyone, is called brain dump. Can everybody just take out a piece of paper wherever you are? Trust me, this helps a lot. If you have a piece of paper, then you can kind of like just a blank A4 paper, and just write down all the things that you need to do for your thesis writing right now that is overwhelming. Because believe me, if you don't put it down somewhere, it's going to be like this. And the picture on the left and in the middle, and your to-do list is pretty much everything. And when you carry that with you, that's going to be very burdening, and it's going to make you feel so overwhelmed, when really when you put it down on paper, you realize like, this is what would happen. You'll be like, oh my gosh, it's not as bad as I thought. I think I can do this. But if you don't put it down on paper, it sounds scary to put it down on paper, but believe me, when you do, things start to become clearer because that is when you start to have focus. You start to get directed focus. Now, something very important that all of us in this age, 2021, find very difficult or challenging to do is focus. Can you actually focus on something for 10 minutes without switching tabs, without checking your phone, without checking your email, or, you know, give you an example. When you go on YouTube, when you watch a TikTok video, how many of you are like, okay, let's look at the comments section, or when you're watching a YouTube video and the speaker is so interesting, but it becomes a habit that we go to the comment section and we just can't focus because we just want to see more and more. So sometimes we need to retrain our brain to how it was before. Our brain actually, it does not really multitask. If you really look at it closely, it's actually switching tasks. That means it's switching really quickly between different tasks very quickly. So it feels like we're multitasking at the same time, but when really we're not. So every time you're doing your thesis and you stop to check your phone or you stop to check your email, you're already going into scattered focus. Directed focus is very important, which is why I actually try to manage my WhatsApp notifications in a very manual way. All right, so how many of you, this is what your tabs look like in your laptop, right? I'm guessing this is it. I'm guessing that the last time you actually shut down your laptop was a few weeks ago. Is it? Some of you don't shut down, you just make it sleep. Some of you, your laptop sleeps longer than you sleep, right? And this is how your tabs look like. So if you're doing this, this also is not helpful for the focus. It's scattered focus. Believe me, I did do this before and it does not help. We're afraid to turn off and close any tab. We're so afraid that, oh, what if I miss that tab again? I don't want to save it. Where do I save it? And believe me, it's good for you to save the link, at least email it to yourself, whatever that you can do to clear your desktop and clear your tabs. That is something that's going to help you out because it's really doing something to your focus as well. This this is something that a lot of students also do. I don't know if you can see the top tabs are all opened. Another thing to share with you, number 4, is reframing your thoughts. We need to remember that our thoughts actually have a big influence on our feelings. Our feelings can have a big influence on our behavior. And then in turn, it's like a cycle. But remember, if you say to me that, you know what, I'm like, I feel like my heart is in the right place. I answered questions correctly. But right now, I feel like I can't think straight. Okay, it's fine. If you can't adjust and manage your thoughts first, what you can do is you can start the behavior first. Because when you start slowly with your behavior, it will influence your thoughts automatically. And then your thoughts will eventually help to create the right feelings as well. So you can start a little bit by adjusting your behavior. And you're saying to me, like, how do I adjust my behavior? That actually I'm going to share with you in just a little bit. But before that, let me share with you. Remember, our perception is sometimes different as compared to the reality, which is why I was sharing with you just now to actually do the brain dump. Because sometimes we perceive that I have so many things to do. I'm not going to do anything today because it's just overwhelming. But when you put it down on paper and when you really kind of like dissect it and really look at like, what must I do in this and this and this, you realize the reality is it wasn't as bad as I thought. I think I can do this first. So that will be important, which brings me to tip number 5, which is continuity. Now, a very wonderful motivational speakers as well. I've heard them say to me also this: be consistent and persistent. They asked this man wrote hundreds of books. He wrote like so many books in his life, and they asked him, "How did you manage to write so many books in your life?" And do you know what he said? He said, "I don't remember writing so many books. Honestly, all I remember doing is writing a page a day. That's all I did. I wrote a page a day." Let me share with you a bit of a tips that I got from my friend as well. She's in ICOL last time. And she said, I would always look at her, and she's so, wonderful, and she likes to play music as well. And whenever I see her, she looks so relaxed and at peace, but she'll finish her work on time. Then I asked her, how do you do it? And she said, she's doing this technique whereby she will actually write one page a day, yes, but it's single spacing. She tricks her brain in that way. Single spacing, one page a day. Before she know it, at the end of 7 days, she has written 14 pages. Because when you convert it to double spacing, it becomes almost like a double. So that's how she did and managed to consistently finish one page a day. Now, her friend, I remember we were discussing, and her friend said, well, I just wrote 3 lines. And then we said, that's awesome. That's awesome because 3 lines is better than no line at all. And that's not easy to write 3 lines. If you're a PhD student, you know that. Sometimes it's hard to start. 3 lines is still better than no lines. At the end of 7 days, you have 21 lines. How many lines in a page, everyone? Can you remember? Double spacing. So do the math and see that you can actually move forward. It's all about tricking ourselves. Now, this is what I found very useful as well. Going into your cave. You need to have your own cave. My cave was my room. Sometimes my cave was the library as well. And the cubicle, I love level 4. Actually, I miss that so much. So I would do that as well. But it's okay. Even in the pandemic, you can go into your own cave, and your cave is your room. I remember my friend, Madam Nur Aini will also say to me, Pam, you were in your cave, right? Today, I didn't really hear from you. And I would say, yes, I was in my cave, my little cave. So actually, when you do that, you go into this in psychology, positive psychology, and in sports psychology, we call it in the zone. When you are in the zone, you really flourish so much. And that is when you can really get your momentum going. You need that space where you are not distracted. You need to have that. That's in the zone. So being in the zone, being in a state of flow is something very important. Now, time management. Okay, this is the part that I wanted to share with you earlier, how to target your behavior. So for your behavior, there are several things that we can do, because a lot of times, a lot of PhD students, their issue is time. Sometimes it's stuckness, how to move past the stuckness because they're afraid of the time as well. So let me share with you a little bit of tips. Sometimes, if we spend the whole day in front of the laptop, our productivity can actually go down. And they call it the 888 rule. So 888 rule is like this. There are 24 hours in a day, everyone. So pretty much you can do the math. Ideally, in an ideal world, now I'm not saying that all of us are following this or supposed to follow this. I'm not telling you to follow this, but ideally, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play. But I know that we're not doing that. But if you can think of it in that way, 8 hours of sleep. Okay, I think I can do 7 hours, Pam. Okay, what about work? Can you do 8 hours of work? I mean, are you doing? I'm sure that you are. What about 8 hours of play? This one, a lot of students skimp out on. They don't have that time to play. And now, when I say play, I'm talking about eating and also having time to organize your room. If you hear this wonderful speaker called Jordan Peterson, you can see how he talks about why is it important for you to actually clear your room, because that is a space that is kind of like representative of what is going on in your mind as well. Do you actually have time to relax and watch a comedy? That's important for you to actually laugh, for your endorphins to be released. Do you have time to really pray and read the Quran and read and pray and read the and really have time to zikir, and do you have time to really do that, or are you rushing through thinking about your thesis and not really focused? So sometimes all of those things are important for your soul as well. So when our body is not balanced and we don't have this balance, that can also affect how we feel about our thesis as well. The second technique, all of you, a lot of you are familiar with this one, I'm sure. It's called the Pomodoro Technique. And this one, okay, in just in case anybody hasn't heard of this word, Pomodoro means tomato in Italian language. There was this guy, his name is Francisco Cerello. He's a researcher, and he was feeling so stuck. And he said, like, oh my gosh, how do I start writing? He looked at his kitchen timer in the shape of a tomato, and he said that, what if I use my timer? Okay, I'm just going to use my timer. I'm going to set the clock for 25 minutes, and I'm going to have complete focus time, which means you put your phone in silent. and you don't check it for that 25 minutes. You don't check Facebook, you don't check email, you don't go on YouTube, you don't check anything except your writing for 25 minutes. Then you take a 5-minute break. That's when you allow yourself to take a break. Then you do 25 minutes. Now, our department actually, we have our staff who are also doing that. Our lecturers are also doing that sometimes. Some of them are also doing their PhD. They do that every week. Where they sit together. We did that together. Some of you remember, we would do it through Google Meet, and we would have this Pomodoro session. I encourage you to actually find a group of friends to do that with. It's so effective. Find out how to actually do it. So pretty much it's like this. Set a timer for 25 minutes. Somebody will be the policeman. Tell when the timing, take a break, then resume your tasks after 25 minutes. So this is just for you to see. I think that you can see this online as well. So, okay, now I just want to share with you, there's another technique called don't break the chain. This technique is also kind of interesting. It works like this. You kind of like divide your clock to 4 sections. So you only give yourself 15 minutes to work on each task. So remember the brain dump that you did earlier on the piece of paper? You assign each doable task in this 15-minute slot. And I know what you're thinking, like, damn, there's no way I'm going to finish a task in 15. Of course, it's not. Our goal is not to finish. Our goal is to start. So you just put a task in there and switch tasks if you can. If you feel like you want to continue working on the same task, then do it. But you can say, for example, I'm going to work for 15 minutes on 3 lines. Usually you would end up writing a page. So sometimes this can really help a lot. And don't forget to reward yourself. That's something very important. Another thing that I want to share with you is called the 5-minute countdown. If I give you 5 minutes to type something, what would you do? Say, for example, I'm turning it into a game and I'm saying to you that you have 5 minutes to type as much as you can. Do you know that you will take away the thoughts and all that intrusive thoughts will go away and you're just going to just write exactly what comes to your mind? Because a lot of times our thoughts actually is very intrusive and it really makes us second guess ourselves. Just write and don't care about the mistakes that you do. You can always come back to edit. If I give you a game like that, believe me, you'll be able to do it because you're taking away the thoughts. If any of you saw this movie called The Last Samurai, remember how the guy, okay, Tom Cruise will be trying to like, do the sword fight, and then the other person will say, too much thoughts, no mind, don't do them, don't think about it, just do it. So this is one trick. This trick is very good. This is called the 2 golden hours. This one helps a lot. Every day, set aside 2 hours where you write. If 2 hours is too long, then set aside 1 hour where you only focus on writing. This hour, you don't do Google Scholar, you don't go and search for articles, you don't go and do your reading. This is not including the reading part. This is just the writing, purely writing part. So you can couple this with the Pomodoro and it will be really. So I'm aware of the time actually, Dr. Syed. So shall I stop here perhaps?
You can take another 3 more minutes, inshallah.
All right, cool. Okay, 3 minutes, 3-minute thesis right now. Okay, I'm gonna count. Okay, so this is another trick, everyone. I tried this when you don't feel like doing your work. It's nice to change things up a little bit. Remember, this is because of targeting the behavior, right? Okay, so work standing up. There are actually a lot of offices that do this. Do you know what I did? I used an ironing stand. Okay, I put my laptop there and I stood and did my work. Do you know what happens when you do this? You will spend less time pondering and rethinking and thinking and overthinking because it takes effort to stand. You would end up like, I'm just going to type what comes to my mind. I'm going to type what is necessary. You would end up avoiding the procrastination that happens in our mind. This is just one trick to share with you. This one is really important, chunking. So you break up big things into small sets of tasks. So this one actually has got something to do with, let me come here for a bit. It's got something to do with this, everybody. Can you see 5 elements of SMART goals? So I don't know if any one of you has heard of it. I think you must have if you're doing whether you're in business or whether you're in IO psychology. This is something very famous. So break up your big tasks into 5 sets over here, SMART. So make it specific. Exactly how many lines do you plan to write? Make it measurable, which means how are you going to track it? Do you actually want to spend for 15 minutes on it or 25 minutes? Make it attainable. Is it actually attainable? Can you do it, or is it too unrealistic? Finishing 3 pages in 15 minutes is too much. Relevant. Is it really relevant to what you need to do right now? And time bound. Do you have you know, a kind of duration? Like, okay, I'm going to be doing 1 page a day for 7 days. You can have a duration that you're going to be an end goal for it. These are some rules that you. And one more share with you. Done health psychology. This is a very nice technique as well. It's called implementation intention. This is actually a self-regulatory strategy. Now it talks about how you're going to be putting a backup plan. It's like if then. So you're going to do pairing right now. You're going to pair your writing with an already existing habit. Because you're writing, if you're finding it hard to start, that means it's not a habit yet. You're going to pair it with another existing habit. So your habit might be like, okay, I like having breakfast with coffee. So right after breakfast with my coffee time, I'm going to make sure that while I'm drinking coffee, maybe I just read a little bit about an article. And right after I read that article, I'm going to type something to summarize that article. So you're pairing an already existing habit, which is breakfast and nice cup of coffee, with this new behavior that you're trying to implement. This pairing technique helps a lot. When I was doing my PhD, I would come back from the library kind of late, and then I like to bathe with hot water. So we don't have hot showers, so I would boil hot water while I'm waiting for the water to boil to put in the pail. I would actually do a little bit of work because I would like, oh my gosh, I can't just wait and not do anything. In that few minutes, I would write something. Before I knew it, I was finishing a lot of work in that short span because my mind knew I only have a few minutes before the water boils. Without me realizing, I paired the water boiling with another task. So you gotta trick your brain. Our brain is very smart. We need to trick it in this way to actually try to work our way. But remember, go back to your main goal, which is your intrinsic motivation. Why are you here? Do you believe you can do it? And how badly do you want it? That's gonna help you to move forward as well. All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Syed. I think I will stop here for now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pamilia. This was really a very refreshing and engaging session. Most of the participant researchers must have related what you have mentioned with their own personal things. Those who have already graduated, this reminded them their PhD or master period. Definitely, it was very engaging session. I thoroughly electrically energized. Personally, I got energy to finish my painting or articles to write as soon as possible.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. No doubt, this was you enlightened us with some practical methods to overcome the challenges in the writing thesis. If I recap the quickly importance of the motivation, and we should have the belief in our capability, intrinsic motivation. Then we should know really what is the why. Then it will be helping us to discover the how. That is a very important lesson, and we have to balance our expectation with our current situations. Then importance of the focus, and you gave us some tips for doing that. Particularly, these things are very important because we are in the age of distraction, so-called multitasking, but actually we are doing nothing. So importance of the focus, you also enlightened to that point, and how we can reframe our thoughts, then it will affect our feeling, and it will definitely influence our works. That was a very important point. And then continuity by consistent, and the persistency, and the cream was the time management. I think the time management is the bigger thing. All human being, particularly the researchers and the students, they have to be very much aware, and the tips for doing that is also very beneficial. I am pretty much sure that there must be more things the students want to know. So inshallah, we have a question and answer session, and you can write your questions in the chat box. Inshallah, I will read them after the next talk. Now, Alhamdulillah, we have a very distinguished speaker, a senior faculty from USAS, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Amin Idris. Dr. Amin Idris is the Dean of the Faculty of Management and Information Technology, USAS, Sultan Azlan Shah University. He did his bachelor's from Southern Illinois University in USA and Master's of Business and Administration from DSU Illinois in USA and PhD in Business Administration from University Utara, Malaysia. He's a considerable expert in a business administration strategy with several publications. Today, Dr. Amin Idris will share with us several valuable and practical tips to keep us motivated in writing the thesis, which will be definitely enriched with his experience, long experience in the academia. Yes, Doctor, over to you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Brother Said, as a moderator of this session. And then thank you, Dr. Pamilia, for your lovely and wonderful presentation. I like that. But I want to apologize first. You know, I'll be mentioning some of the point that you mentioned. But I hope I don't offend you. You know, when you hear my explanation. Okay. Very good morning to all. I see here, you know, someone that I know, my Islamic faculty dean, and my beloved Prof. Wan Sabri, my deputy vice chancellor, and also my deputy vice chancellor administration, Dr. Anas, is also here. And we have a lot of you there. And then I'm sure that, you know, we have a student who is going to start their thesis, some already in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, some waiting for proposal defense, some is writing the analysis, and then some writing chapter 5, and then some waiting for the viva, and then some doing the correction, waiting for your thesis to be accepted by the Senate. Okay, this morning, I'm not going to talk about thesis anymore. I'm going to talk about you. You, the one that is writing the thesis. Action, action, action. We need action. We don't need NATO, no action, talk only. You go to your supervisor, you talk, but you don't write. Your mind work, but you don't work. Okay, now, let me first say this. Writing thesis is a very simple exercise. Anybody want to believe me? If someone go and tell you that writing thesis is difficult, don't trust him. Okay, don't trust anyone that is telling you that writing thesis is difficult. Writing thesis is very, very easy. So, what is actually that makes writing thesis difficult? The thing that makes writing thesis difficult is you. You are the enemy of your success. You are the one to be blamed. If you prolong the writing, if your writing becomes floppy, if others don't accept your writing, it is you. It is not others. Do not blame others. Okay? So I'm going to say it again that writing thesis is very, very simple. Okay, now, I'm a management person. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a management person. So I'm going to talk today's topic from the managerial perspective. You know the basic function of management: plan, organize, direct, control, evaluate, replanning. That is actually the one that's suggested by the management gurus of what you should do when you do management. So I am going to ask you to treat writing thesis as a project. Writing thesis is a project. Okay, you go and Google, you look for the definition of project. A project is something that have starting time, starting date, and ending date. That is a project. Whether it is 2 hours, 2 years, 2 months, it is a project when there is a starting date and there is an ending date. So that is thesis. Thesis, you have deadline. You have time. You're supposed to submit your proposal defense. You have the schedule already been scheduled to you. When are you going to present your proposal? And then you have time to complete your chapter 4, chapter 5. And then you are given time, to go into the Viva room. And then you are given time to complete your correction. Those are all time deadline. So you treat it as a project. When you treat it as a project, you put another word after the project management. Meaning to say, you had to manage the project. You had to manage the writing of the thesis. Everybody knows you read everywhere. People said, writing thesis is a journey. It is a journey. It is a long journey. It is a very, very, very long journey. To someone, it is short. But remember, MQA only allow us minimum 3 years. No, nothing less than that. If you manage to complete your thesis in 2.5 years, it's not going to be accepted. Meaning to say, 3 years is the lifespan for someone that can complete writing thesis. But it can be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or even 10 years. It doesn't matter because the thesis belongs to you. Okay, that is the first thing that I want all of you students, all of you candidates to remember, that writing thesis is a project. When it is a project, you have to manage. When you have to manage, you apply the basic function of management: planning, organizing, okay, and then use the resources, okay. You go and look back into the definition of planning, definition of organizing, definition of control, definition of evaluation, definition of replanning. Okay. In my session, there is not going to be any screen sharing. Okay. So if you want to, you have to jot down or you record. Oh, no, it's already recorded, right? Okay. Okay. Actually, I have 21 points to tell you. And I say it as a rule. It is a rule. A 21 rule for you to be able to be successful in writing your thesis. 21 rule. But I'm not going to say all. I'm going to say until the time permitted. Bro Syed? Okay, rule number 1. If you want to be successful in your thesis writing, rule number 1, get rid of the greatest enemy of your success, which is yourself. Now, how do you want to get it? Very simple. Dr. Pamilia has mentioned some of the things. Throw all the bad habit, throw all the bad attitude, throw all kind of bad attitude that stop you from continuing writing. Okay? You go to Pavlov, you go to Google, you go to Pavlov web, you will see that, okay, he listed 173 bad habits. And you choose which one is actually relevant to writing thesis. Dr. Pamela know more than me what is habit, what is bad habit. That bad habit is actually stopping you from making you successful in writing your thesis. Okay, that is point number 1. Okay, get rid of all the bad habit, meaning to say, get rid of you. So get rid of the bad habit and pick up all the good habit. It looks simple, but difficult, but also simple. What do I mean by simple? Getting rid of bad habit is just like quitting smoking. You tell me, how difficult is it quitting smoking? You tell me. You can quit in 1 minute. But why can't people quit? It's not because of the cigarette. It's because of you, the smokers. If you decide, you talk to yourself that you want to quit, you just throw all the cigarette, that is in your pocket. You throw the matches. You don't request for any more cigarette from your friend. Then you can stop. You can stop smoking. So as bad habit. Okay, that is point number 1. Point number 2, change your paradigm. Remember, change your Paradigm. What is the meaning of paradigm? Google. Why must you ask me? You Google. This is all informative. Everybody can understand. But I will be giving you my own meaning of paradigm. The meaning of paradigm is very simple. Paradigm is the way you look at the world. How do you look at the world? That's paradigm. So every one of us have different paradigm. You know, it is all different paradigm. So you look at the meaning of paradigm and you see, you just pick up all the negative paradigm that is in you that stop you from continue writing your thesis. Point number 2. And then point number 3. This is a project. I call it, this is a project. So, okay, you imagine a construction project. How do they start the construction project? They have a side office. Okay, they have a side office. Why can't you also have a side office? What is your side office? Where is your side office? It is a corner of your bedroom. Just take a table and chair, put it there. This is my side office for my thesis project management. That's it. Or if your room, your house is big, you have empty room, then take a room as a, this is Baba punya, side office for my thesis. Mama, please don't disturb me. At 10 o'clock, you please bring in a cup of coffee. My love kid, you go and play your game out there. Don't come into this room. This is my thesis side office. That is actually point number 3. And then point number 4. Be a taekwondo guy or girls. Be a taekwondo guys or girls. You look at taekwondo. How does the training of taekwondo start their training? They start with white belt. When they start registering into the taekwondo training session, white belt. White belt mean what? You know nothing. Whatever you do is wrong. That is why your supervisor come in. Your supervisor come in so that he can help you. He is not a trainer, He is a supervisor, okay? You can Google and you see what is actually the job of a supervisor. What is the supervisor supposed to be doing, okay? But you go into the training room, you are black belters. And then the next step is what? Yellow. You have to upgrade yourself to yellow. So what do? Of course, you have to do something. You have to exercise. You have to go to the training session regularly. You have to listen to what your trainers say. And then now you are living in the world of internet. You go home, you Google, how to make yourself getting faster, the yellow belt as compared to others. You are living the internet world. Information is on our palm. You don't need to go, not like before, no, you have to go to the library and whatnot. Okay, and then after yellow, you have to go to green. After green, you have to go to blue, and then red, and then black belt. Black belt is after you have passed through your viva. Okay? Next rule. Of course, you should understand what is the meaning of a doctoral degree. What is the meaning of a doctoral degree? It's the highest possible, awarded that you can get in academic world. So I don't want to talk about that for long. Okay, I go to the next. I go to the next rule. This is actually crazy. Some of you might, crazy lah, Prof. Amin. How can he suggest that? Okay, from the day one, you go and register yourself as a PhD student. You are not candidate yet. Remember, you are PhD student. Okay. Register from the very first day, you have to submit your thesis. Oh my God. This is first day, I just registered. How could you ask me to submit? Yes, you have to submit. Submit mean what? Okay, how does our thesis look like when you have completed our thesis and you are decomposed? It look like this. It look like this. This is how a thesis look like. Anybody want to say anything? This is not a thesis. Okay. This is a thesis. This is the only indication that you have completed your thesis. They call it hardcover binding thesis to be submitted before the Senate endorse your thesis, your PhD. Okay, so do this. How come I do this on the first day? Yes, you have to do it on the first day. That first day thesis is called dummy thesis. What is a dummy thesis? The physical look is there, but there is no content. Okay. And then the one that you can prepare early is all very simple. How difficult it is to prepare cover? You write the title, your name, and then your faculty, and then your program. And then you go page by page. We have what? We have outside cover. We have blank page. We have inside cover. We have permission to use. We have acknowledgement. And then we have what? List of table, list of vibration, list of all kind of lists. And then we have abstract English. We have abstract Malay. We have table of content. We have chapter 1. We have chapter 2. We have chapter 3. We have chapter 4. We have chapter 5. We have references. We have appendices. We have outside cover. That is thesis. The problem with our student is they never want to get the thesis guideline book on the very first day they register for their doctoral program. You must get the thesis guideline manual on the very first day. How could you go to a competition, let's say golf? Okay, I play golf. That's why I give you an example of golf. Okay. You must know the rule. To the very least, you must know the attire. Cap, t-shirt with a collar, must tight in, you must wear golf shoes. So those are actually attire that you must know. Otherwise, don't tell me that you're going to use the play card to go and play golf. Have you seen anybody play golf wearing kopiah? It is a rule. Some are ethic, but many are rules. So follow the rule. So when come to thesis writing, how do you want to know the rule? Get the guidebook. From the very first day, you read from cover to cover. From cover to cover. How should we write the outside cover? How should we write the permission to use? How should we write the acknowledgement? How should we write the abstract, Malay, English, table of content, and so forth and so forth? Okay, so get used. These are all things that can keep you motivated to write thesis. Okay, and then the next one, please. Read self-improvement book. It has got nothing to do with your thesis. It has got nothing to do with your thesis title. But what is self-improvement for? You tell me. Just like what is the Quran for? Quran is meant to improve ourselves. Most of the content in the Quran is talking about you. It's talking about us. It's talking about ourselves to be a better person. So as the guide and the rule to make you someone who knows about thesis writing. Okay, so you read from the very first day. Most of the students actually they start reading the guidebook when they want to go into Viva room. How do I write cover? How do I write table of content? My track is wrong or not? Then you start become nervous and nervous and nervous. Okay, and then if the date is not set yet for you, then you will start delaying things. You delay going in to see your supervisor, you delay your proposal defense, you delay your viva. It is because you do not read that guideline book. Okay. Next rule. Every day is your doctoral day. We have 7 days a week. Every day is your doctoral day. You cannot, not even a single second, do not think about your thesis. This is like, the World Cup, Coca-Cola, World Cup. This is a World Cup sickness. That is how you should treat. Okay, so every day is your doctoral day. And then next next rule. Okay. Sorry, Dr. Pamela, you mentioned about time management, and then you come up with the tomato from the Italian guy. Okay, now we look carefully. Is it time management? Do you think is it time management? No, it is a management of self. It is self-management. It is not time. Can anybody all the time tell me? Can you reduce 60 seconds to 58? Cannot. Can you increase from 7 days to 8 days? Okay, let's make it 1 week. We have 8 days. We cannot. We have to adapt to it. In order for you to adapt to it, you have to manage yourself. It's not the time. We have to manage ourselves. Okay, so start managing yourself. Start controlling yourself. What time you want to wake up? What time you want to have your breakfast? What time you want to start working? What time you want to have your lunch? What time you want to have your tea? What time you want to, starting doing your work? What time you want to go out with your family? Getting rid for a while of the thesis writing. You manage yourself. Nobody can manage you except you. That is what I said, that if you fail to do that, then you are the enemy of yourself. It's not others, it is you. So blame yourself. When I say blame yourself, you can't even blame your supervisor. You go and see 10 times, you went to your supervisor's room and he was not there. Still the blame is on you, okay? Next. Change your daily routine. Just now we said, writing thesis is a journey. Writing thesis is a project. And then every day you have got your routine before you undertake that project. Once you undertake that project, you have to tighten your seatbelt. You have to buckle up. You have to schedule. Schedule means you have to come up with a timeline, milestone, Gantt chart, whatever you want to call it. You have to schedule. You have to really schedule. Daily schedule, weekly schedule, monthly schedule, annual schedule, and then schedule for 5 years if you want to graduate within the period of 5 years. Okay. Next role. This is special, something to do with habit, but I put it as a rule by itself. Get rid of the habit of procrastination. Procrastination is another enemy for your thesis writing. You keep on postpone. You are NATO. You only talk but no action. Don't let only your mind talk, but you yourself must do the work. So in this world, I categorize the people in this world into 3 categories. One is those who make things happen. Everybody, when you start writing thesis, you must become those who make things happen. But we have another type of person, those who watch things happen. They always watch, there, okay, how about you? Worse still, we have another type of person, those who wonder what happened. When the supervisor start asking you, yeah, how's your thesis? Thesis? Oh, am I supposed to write anything for you? Oh my God. So that is the next rule. Get rid of the procrastination. You go and read, you Google, you can see how bad is procrastination is that contribute to the success of your thesis writing. He's a very bad enemy. Kill him. Kill the procrastination. In order for you to kill the procrastination, you have to manage yourself. You cannot manage others but yourself. You manage yourself so that you can get rid of the habit of procrastination. Okay. And then you go to the next one. Increase your intellectual curiosity. You know when we do thesis, what is actually the purpose
Cannot hear. Prof. Is it audible for everyone?
No, cannot.
Can't hear. Please unmute Dr. Mohmad.
Unmute.
The problem with technology.
Yeah, now fixed. Prof,
Okay.
can
Okay.
carry
Distraction.
Pamilia,
it's okay now.
Distraction. Okay. No.
It would
Okay.
be great if
Okay.
you can
Okay.
end the
Now,
session in
next.
3 minutes.
How many more minutes I have?
3.
3 more minutes. Okay. No problem. The next one is increase your intellectual curiosity. So, of course, you can go and Google, because there's a lot of articles talking about how and why PhD candidate should increase his or her intellectual curiosity. Okay, and then the next rule. We are about to finish now. Take care of your diet. Do not forget your diet. Do not forget your diet, especially people of my age, especially during this COVID-19. Take supplement, not medicine. Supplement, So treat, please, because you have to be energetic all the time. Okay? You have to wake up in the middle of the night, writing books, writing your thesis. So your health must be good, okay? And then this is another crazy thing. I don't know whether Dr. Pamela agree with me or not. Huh? Keep on talking to yourself. Keep on talking to yourself. PhD is a journey, and PhD is also a lonely journey. If it is not a lonely journey, it is not original. In order to make it original, it has got to be lonely. It's only about your topic. Nobody has written that yet, you. So, okay, fine. When you start, you have friends, you have supervisors, you have colleagues. But when you go to the very end, who accompanied you to your Viva? Tell me. Even your supervisor cannot talk. So you have to keep on talking to yourself in a car, while walking. You have to talk to yourself. I have confidence. I'm able to do it. I'm able to do it. You talk to yourself. Okay. Next rule. Learn more. Get the skill. Get all the possible tool that is provided by your word processing package. A lot of candidates wasting their time typing table of content, wasting their time typing bibliography. You know that word processor can do that for you. When we have other software like Mendeley helping you, but you don't. And then you see, oh my God, he is typing the table of content. So get used to it. If you do not know, then go for training. Register yourself for word processing training. Just like our phone. How many of us, this is our smartphone, but how many percent we utilize our phone? Tell me. Not even 100%. The most is 30%. So learn word processing package. Okay, the next one is actually, I am suggesting you to read a book by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Covey listed 7 habits. I pick up some, which I think very relevant to the exercise of writing thesis. Habit number 1. Okay, Covey put that as habit number 3, but I put it habit number 1. Put first thing first. First thing first. The Malay said, yang dahulu didahulukan. I think that is tertib, right? Put first thing first. So you must decide. We have things like important, urgent. Okay, urgent, not important. Important, not urgent. Not urgent, not important. So you must see which one you have to do first. This is what I said just now. Read the guideline first. Okay? And then habit number 2. Stephen put as habit number 7, but I put as habit number 2. Sharpen the saw. You want to know more? You please read the book which 40 million sold. Sharpen the saw. Sharpen the saw mean, you know, the wood cutter, you know, went to the jungle, brought a saw. First day, 5 log he can cut. Second day, he want 4. Third day, 3. Fourth day, 2. Last day, only 1. Fifth day, only 1. Why? He keep on using the same saws, but not sharpened. That is actually analogy. So meaning to say, keep on enriching your knowledge about how to write a thesis book. Okay? And then habit number 1, as listed by Covey, I put as habit number 3, be proactive. Most students went to supervisor, keep on asking questions. Your supervisor is a knowledge tank, you know. Nothing much he knows. He must be asking you, what is your progress? He only guide you, okay? So when you went to see your supervisor, be proactive, prepare yourself, okay? And then habit number 2, as listed by Covey, begin with the end in mind. What does it mean? You must have objective. Why you want to do PhD, okay? And then habit number 5 for Stephen Covey, seek first to understand, then be understood, okay? We are given 1 mouth and 2 ears. What do we have to do more? We have to listen more than we talk. So when you do and you go and see, listen to what he said. Seek to understand first. Do not simply use the word but. Keep on but. Okay? So with that, Brother Syed, I end up my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Dr. Amin Idris, for unleashing so much energy to our researchers. I'm pretty much sure that this session is going to be a memorable one in the course of writing the thesis. Just like I'm feeling, I got a magic capsule which energized the journey in writing the theses and articles, and it was great, interesting to watch how we switched from the psychology to a management session. But the bridging process was really smooth. We enjoyed that, and so much spirit. We enjoyed your the things. Hopefully, inshallah, this we will have a it will have a practical impact in our students' journey of the thesis. If I recap, it's a full of points. If I try to recap, the main thing you focus, we have to walk the talk, not just talking. We have to walk the talk, and considering this work as a thesis as a project, the strategies from your experience and expertise and your specialization, that very much relatable, and it is helpful. It will be helpful. So if we consider this thesis writing as a project, we should have a plan. We should have an organizing skill. We should be using the resources we have. And your point that thesis writing is simple, that will also give a positive and soothing experience for our researchers. And you have counted so many points from the 21 roles. The thing that you started with finding the enemy in ourselves, that we have from an Islamic background also. We have the hawa, the hawa, the less, and our ammaratum bisu, in the nafs ammaratum bisu. We have our own, problematic things, so this distraction within us, that Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam called as a al-jihadul akbar, from the real battle. He was returning, then the Sahaba, then he reminded, this is the small jihad. Actually, the bigger jihad is the jihad with yourself. So that was very, very important point you mentioned. And focus on the good habits, and we have to remove the bad habits. Then we should have a set side office, right? A particular area which we are more comfortable for doing our researches. And we have to daily update ourselves, changing the color from the green, from the white to black, the journey. That one also very much important. And we should have a demi thesis before we have a real thesis. That's a very good advice. I remember my guru, Prof. Arif Ali Arif, he gave me a, a board in which he asked me to, whenever I print something, keep in this here. So I consider it as a baraka as well as it's a demi thesis you mentioned. That was very interesting point. And from the first day, we should know all the rules related to the thesis. I think there's some of our students, including me, made the mistake. We just go ahead with the flow. Then later on, when we started the journey, in between, we realized we have to do this way, this way. So we are wasting the time, and we have to read the self-improvement books, even though it has nothing to do with our research literature, but it will give a positive energy. And every day is a doctoral day, and the Prof redefined the time management to the self-management. That's a two different perspectives of looking into the same thing. We can benefit from that one also, and we have to change the daily routines. No procrastination. Two of our distinguished speakers focused on the procrastination. In the Arabic we say tasweef. Tasweef we say saufa, saufa, saufa af'alu, saufa af'alu. I'll do it. No, you have to do it now. So that one was very good. And take care of the diet. That is a very important thing. I think the researchers, we should focus. I mean, if we don't have the energy, how we will be going to do this intellectual exertion? I think it's the most tiring job in the world. So we should be focusing on the diet. And the 7 habits of the successful people. Prioritization. I think prioritization is very important. Sharpen the sword, proactive, this and that. That was very, very wonderful session. And we, two of our speakers, our committee has rightly chosen them from different way, different method, but the end is there. We got the inspiration, we got the motivation. So now I think now I think we can open the question and answer session. So that would be more interesting. I mean, what is really going through the problems? Maybe the today's problem. What is the COVID-19 time? What are the major issues which the audience, our researchers and students, PG students are going through? We have a great opportunity. We should seize this opportunity to clarify our doubts and to move ahead and get our certificate. But as IIUM always teaches, excellence with a soul, excellence with a soul. How we achieve that, we will get the energy and the boost from our distinguished speakers. Now, I have opened already the chat box. Anyone has asked, some of them I mean highlighted the points. I think how we should the enemy yourself, that is a very important point. And the another thing was talking to yourself. Yeah, that is when the Prof Mohmad, talking to ourselves. Go to the in front of the mirror, talk yourself. That would be a wonderful experience. So far I haven't seen any questions, so please write your question. So maybe I'll help what I have seen during my, because I'm just graduated. So some of my friends, this question is a little bit psychological. So primarily this is to Dr. Pamilia, but definitely Dr. Our Prof. Muhammad Amin can also answer me. So some students, they are highly motivated. They know that the time is important. They came with a mission and they have everything is clear, but they are stuck when they sit in front of the laptop, or when they start reading the book related to thesis. It's nobody can help them. So why it's happening? I mean, some of my friends are still struggling. They didn't reach to the point. I mean, I sometimes we give the motivation, this and that, but it doesn't help them. What is the psychological reason now. What is the reason, mental reason related to this issue? And the second question, that would be primarily for Prof. Dr. Mohmad Amin, and definitely Dr. Pamilia also can help in this. That is, sometimes we see the students, they enroll for the PhD or PG program, then they lose a lot of time thinking about the topic. What is the topic? What should I do? I mean, then they're asking me, can you give me a topic? Oh, that is so sad, asking someone else maybe from different specialization for a topic. So how we can overcome this issue? Maybe Dr. Pamilia can start, I think.
Thank you so much, Dr. Said. So, coming to your first question just now about some people feeling so motivated and they're feeling that they're given all the motivation that they need, but then they're not sure somehow why they still experience that feeling of stuckness and they just can't seem to move forward. I think before we actually want to address that issue, I think it would be good for us to actually talk to the student and ask them what exactly causes this feeling of stuckness. So, what we're doing is we're actually trying to go to the root cause because without knowing the main root cause of their feeling of stuckness, we wouldn't be able to really hit the nail and we wouldn't be able to really hit the bullseye. So I think finding out from them what exactly is causing their stuckness, but we perhaps if your loved ones or your friend is actually going through that, a very good technique is not to hit strong, ask them exactly is causing you to be stuck. Because they would definitely say, I don't, no, nothing. So we can ask them, which I asked one student even yesterday, what are the thoughts that come to your mind usually when you think about theses? What are the emotions that you feel when you think about theses? So you're slowly helping them to explore, or you can guide them to help them to explore within themselves. What is the main obstacle that they feel when they're thinking about theses? Because when we know the root cause, only then we can uncover how we can actually address the main issues there. So there, even though they say that I have all the motivation, but I don't know why I cannot start. There is actually an obstacle that is involved there, but only they would know the main obstacle there. Is it self-confidence? Is it self-esteem? Is it just feeling overwhelmed that they do not know how to move forward? There must be some reason there, or fear of moving forward, or something. So we need to find out what is the main, because everybody's journey is different, and everybody's experience is different. So finding out what is the main root cause will be the first step, and then slowly, then they would be able to know how to do it. But this can take a bit of time. But if they know how to do it, because I just had a conversation with one student actually, and she was feeling so stuck and then having a little bit of conversation talking about that helped her to realize there was actually just not knowing the next step. The moment she knew the next step, she knew exactly how to continue. Just ambiguous for her. So I think sometimes finding out the main roots helps. So I think that would be wonderful. Yeah, that would be the first question. Shall I pass that to Amin as well?
You want to say something regarding the second question before we go to Prof?
Okay, sure. So, for the topic, not knowing the topic is something very common that a lot of students go through because they feel that I think I need a little bit of help knowing what topic to have. It's okay to share and discuss with someone, but let me tell you something at the end of the day, only you would know the real topic that you want to do. Because if someone else chooses your topic, then we lose that intrinsic motivation, that gigantic part. Remember, your PhD is like your baby. So if you're, are you going to let someone else decide everything about your baby? So it's okay to get some opinions from others. It's okay. But at the end of the day, only you would know how exactly do I want my baby to be? How exactly do I want this to go on with? So knowing your main passion, but you might be thinking, but I don't know what to do. Then if you really do not know what to do, it'll be good for you to explore what exactly is my passion to explore more on. And then try to look out for more articles on that topic. And slowly you'll be able to see from a research point of what is missing, what hasn't been done, and if something sparks your interest. But try to really do a little bit of soul searching and try to go through and see what are you passionate about in terms of topic. because this one, no one can choose for you. Only it comes from you. Only then it will be something that you would know what to go forth for. Because if it comes from somebody else, you lose that element of passion. So make sure you go after the topic that you are passionate about. But you can, of course, discuss with others, and then others can help to brainstorm. But at the end of the day, you need to have that decision that you will kind of come to.
Wonderful, Dr. Pamilia. And now Prof can answer the two questions.
Okay, I go to the question number 2 first. Thinking, thinking, and thinking about the topics. Okay, that is what I said that, one of the rule that you should follow is you change the paradigm. Okay, for this case, don't look at the problem, you look at the solution. Okay, don't look at the problem, look at the solution. Okay, the problem is you have problem looking for topics. Now tell me, how do you want to conclude that this is topic that you're going to choose? When students, when the PhD candidate do thesis writing, they have to do 4 things, okay? One is reading. Reading, 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 and reading. And then they have to write. Okay, when come to read, the problem with students is they decided the topic first before they read. You have to read first before you do the read. You have to read first before you decide the topic, because the reading exercise will make the topic emerge. This is actually the topic. This one has not been to research yet, or this one has already been done. This one, okay. From there, you will come up with the topic. And then one more, in order to keep you motivated doing your thesis writing, you must choose topic that you like most. If you choose topic that you like most, you cannot be asking people what topic you should be writing. It's just like, when you want to marry someone. Okay, of course you ask people, but at last you will choose your living partner according to your taste. Okay, you have some guideline, the 4 guidelines given, for you to choose. But at last, it is going to be you who is going to decide on what criteria you're going to choose your living partner. So as the research topic. So what is supposed to be the first process that you should do is writing. Free your mind, from being conquered by any specific topic. How could you come up with a topic first? You have to come up with some areas, okay, management, and then start reading things about management. Down. It may take you 3-4 months. I think everybody agree with me that sometimes it take 1 year for you to conclude that this is the topic that you're going to choose. So read, be patient about it. Reading. This is what I said. Set your schedule. How many hours you want to spend for reading? As I can remember, in the 80s, when there's no internet, I have my friend, in the US when I was a student there, and then he was doing PhD, and he said to me, how much time you spend for reading? He said to me, I walk to the library at 7 o'clock. I cannot come back at 7 o'clock. Meaning what? 12 hours. Still not enough. At that time, there's no internet, no Googling. There's no terminology by the name of Googling. You have to go to the library, talk to the library assistant, and then get something that you want at that particular time. If you want to read book, you know how many book that you have to bring back? 10. You put in your shoulders like this, bring book. Nowadays, gone were the days. There's no longer happen here. All in our fingertip, all at our palm. Okay, coming back to the question number 1, read. From reading, a topic will emerge. I have some tricks, how to expedite all those. But I think this is not the session for me to talk about how to expedite your thesis writing, so that instead of writing in 1 year, you can write for 3 months. Okay? So that is actually the rule that you have to follow. Don't remember my rule just now. Get rid of the enemy who is actually yourself. Put it out of your mind. Okay, I agree with Amin that I have to read, and after I do all the reading, and the topic will come out. Okay, go back to the first question, disturbance. Again, it is you. You are the ones going to decide. I think Dr. Pamilia will know more about the thing that I'm going to mention. Dr. Pamilia, locus of control. You know that? Yeah? LOC, locus of control. Internal, external. Whoever the locus of control is outside, then you have problem. Your locus of internal must be inside. You must be in control of yourself, not others. You know, the problem with us is we cannot control. And the locus of control is outside. You are easily being influenced by the environment. You know, when you are in the office, you're seriously doing your job, and then you have your friend. Dr. Pamilia, can we go for a cup of tea? And then Dr. Camelia said, I have a job to do. Ala, come on lah, Dr. Camelia. You have a lot of time. Okay. And then Dr. Camelia followed the group. And then after 1.5 hours coming back. Whose fault? Anybody stop Dr. Camelia from going out? Nobody except her. Okay. No. I'm okay. That is actually affiliation need, you know. The need to affiliate is more than the need of what is mentioned by David McClellan, okay? The need for achievement. If the need for achievement is higher than the need for affiliation, then you won't be disturbed by anything because your achievement need super beat, you know, it beat the affiliation need. Dr. Pamilia, I think you know better than me, the motivation theory by David McClellan. So that is actually the all answers come back to you. And your mind must be able to accept this advice in order for you to continue doing your thesis. Thank you. Rosai.
Thank you so much. Crystal clear. You have perfectly both of you answered the questions. Now, there is a question from Aisha. The question is to Dr. Pamilia. How do we balance ourselves between always feeling motivated versus allowing ourselves a little bit of the downtime just because we are human beings, right? So always being motivated is maybe unimaginable thing. So maybe you can explain a little bit more on the concept of motivation from a psychological aspect in order to explain this. With a continued question, does life events like this pandemic affect our motivation? You can answer now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Said, and thank you for the question, Dr. Aisha, as well. I think it's that's actually a really wonderful point of view that she has actually brought up. How do we actually balance between feeling motivated as opposed to feeling human and also feeling a little bit of downtime? I have spoken to some students who have been, in a way, my clients as well. And sometimes what happens to them is that they feel that they are not supposed to feel down and they're not supposed to feel demotivated. So if we look exactly at the concept of motivation, we have intrinsic motivation, we have extrinsic motivation. So extrinsic is when you do something because you want to get something tangible. Intrinsic motivation is when you do something because of the love of it and you really love to get that because it means a lot to you, like what I shared with you earlier about the room's expectancy theory. So do you really believe that you can do it, and how much what exactly will you get from it, and how much value do you actually get from that particular outcome? So when it comes to being human and also feeling motivated, I remember a time when I was very motivated, demotivated during my not just a PhD, can be also, let's say, masters or even undergraduate. So sometimes when you feel demotivated and you talk to someone, say for example, a friend or a psychologist about it, one of the things that happens is that the first step, if you are a friend or a loved one to somebody who's demotivated, I notice a very helpful technique. Number one is to acknowledge what they're feeling and to validate their feelings. So if somebody comes up to you and says that I'm really stuck and I feel so stressed, so when we say to them that okay, I can see that you're feeling like you do not know where to go. It's almost like you're paraphrasing it, and you pick up on that feeling. You feel stuck, you don't know where to go. So, what is the emotion attached to that explanation? That means she feels almost lost. Actually, the emotion is lost and stuck. So, when we try to empathize with that emotion, now you can do it for yourself as well. Why am I feeling stuck? I don't feel motivated at all. I feel really sad. I feel like I'm drowning. A lot of students tell me I feel like they're drowning actually, and they're trying to reach out. So when you are feeling that way, try to acknowledge what are you feeling first, and try to kind of have this empathy not only for others but for yourself. I do feel this way right now, and it is understandable given the circumstances that I'm in. That's the second one. So you empathize with yourself that it's not easy that I'm going through this. This is what I'm feeling, and I'm going through this because of this. We acknowledge it, we address it, and we embrace it. And then is the next step. What is causing this, and what can I do about it? I really like what Prof. Amin said about the locus of control. Very true. In focusing on the internal locus of control, what is within my control? There are so many things. There are so many things with the pandemic. There's so many things that are going on around us that we cannot control. We cannot control how others treat us, but we can control how we choose to respond. We can control how we choose to think, which Prof. Amin brought up a very good point about actually the need for affiliation and need for achievement. Yes, Prof. I think a lot of people also feel difficult to say no. Sometimes also they feel that they are a slave to their handphone and they cannot detach as well. And so sometimes, if you go back to many years ago, people had a greater amount of focus actually, to some extent. So sometimes we allow these things to happen as well. So having the ability to say no and everything. But before that, allow yourself to have the space to really feel what you're going through. Because suppression can become dangerous for you when you keep suppressing and don't allow yourself to feel. If you feel like you're drowning, allow yourself, tell yourself that I'm going to allow myself to feel this for a few minutes right now. This is what I'm feeling. I need to share this out, either with someone or with yourself. I remember there's this girl, her name is Jacqueline Sabaritos. I remember I was very touched by her story last time because she's actually a victim of drunk driving. She was in another car, and the drunk driver was in another car that actually hit her headstrong. And I remember seeing that she did an advertisement that said, "Not everybody that meets with an accident dies. Some are left like this." And then she was actually severely burnt and disfigured. But she's a motivational speaker and goes on talking to people. And so what she says is every day she does, even though she's a motivational speaker, she says that I do have my down times. Every day I will sometimes feel sorry for myself and sad. And she says that I remember talking to somebody, my closest friend, and that person will say, Jackie, I'm only going to allow you 5 minutes every day that you're going to feel what you're feeling. So you don't have to do that same duration. But the point is, she did allow herself to feel what she was going through every day for only a limited amount of time. Then she will pick herself up and get back on track and see what she can do within her control. So I think it's important for us to not deny what we're feeling, embrace it and address it, and be honest with yourself. I'm feeling this. So if any one of you, your friends, talk to you about that, I remember feeling upset, when sometimes if my friend would say like or a loved one would say, you mustn't do like that, you mustn't say like that, or you mustn't feel like that, you mustn't think like that. And then sometimes I would say, even or even our parents might say that to us. So you can say to them that I want to just say what I'm feeling first before we go to the how to manage. Can I just say what I'm feeling first? So I think allow yourself that space to feel. Embrace it, address it, empathize with what you're going through. If you have a friend talking that way, let them empathize with that person. Then, without you realizing, they become empowered to go on because they feel that somebody understands and sees my soul or what I'm going through. And then we can work through how to address it now. And they become empowered actually to go on forward. Thank you, Dr. Syed.
You would like to comment something about does the life events like the pandemic affect our
Okay.
motivation?
Thank you, Dr. Said. I think that's a really important question as well. I just spoke to a few PhD students and they said that the pandemic is really affecting their motivation in a very indirect way, actually. because they are the kind of person who likes to go out and do their work outside. A lot of students can relate to that, right? You like to go to the library. I was one of them. You like to go to a cafe. I was one of them as well. I love to do my work in Starbucks or anything, or Coffee Bean. I just had a dream today that I was in Coffee Bean. And then when I woke up, I realized, oh no, I'm not, and I can't now as well. So I know some students who are very motivated by that, and they feel it's not just about the environment. Also, they feel very afraid. Sometimes they have fears of going out, or they feel like so stuck and alone because they can't really mix with their friends. So what I would say is do the things that are within your control, as what said. So if you can't go to Coffee Bean or Starbucks or go out and meet your friends or go out for any other reason, or maybe you're having that fear, focus on what is within your control. So this is what I did during my PhD, during my finalizing as well. I actually brought the place to me. So some people might say, no, it's not the same. You're right, it's not the same, but it helped a lot. I would have another screen and I would put the ambience that I want. That's another laptop or a phone. So you can type cafe ambience, and then before you know it, it kind of becomes very real actually. You can put the sound of beach waves. So it's like you're bringing the environment to you. And that helps you to kind of go to, you're kind of like enhancing your cave, like what Prof. Amin put it as your small office, right? So it's like your little cave that you have, you're enhancing it. Another way that you can do also, if you can't connect with friends, like what some of my colleagues are doing when they're doing their PhD right now, they're actually having online sessions with friends where they actually do their PhD together using the Pomodoro Technique. So they are doing it through Google Meet. Everybody turns on their camera, but they turn off the mic when they're typing for the 25 minutes. Then for 5 minutes, they turn on their mics and they discuss, then they go back into track again. So in terms of that, I think that will help. Trying to find a way to adjust, but we need to also acknowledge that pandemic can definitely have a dampening effect on students' emotions. I think reaching out for help is very important because that can definitely affect how a person. But remember, focus on the things that you have control over, and not allow that to take away and control your life. So, but I do encourage all of you who are really affected and you feel like that's not enough, I need more, then it's good for you to reach out for help. Yes.
Thank you, Doctor. Very practical tips which we can apply these times. And now the second question is for both of you, for Dr. PM and Dr. Mohmad Amin. Before I read the question, let me share the compliment from Yusas to Prof. Dr. Mohmad Amin. You look like a superhero, mashallah. Is a comment. So I'm reading it. That is great, Alhamdulillah. So by the looking also, you are motivating us, both of you, mashallah. So the question is how to define the why and how we maintain that why should be before the how. I think the Ahmad Fanani is the ask the question. So maybe Prof. Muhammad Amin can begin the answering, defining the how and why.
Okay, thank you for the question, Dr. Pamilia. I have, a point for that. The why and how. Okay, why mean, okay, I also mentioned about candidate should know why you pursue your PhD. That answer must be very clear. I do not want to give any example about, because we have different why. I myself have different why. And then you have someone have different why. So you must really define the why. From that, you will find the way. The way is actually the how. You will find the way. The way to fulfill your why. Okay. So the how mean how do you do it? What are the steps that you want to do it? That is why, my case, I would like for the thesis writing to be considered as a project. It is a project. When it is a project, it has got to be managed well. Okay. Most of the thing that we learn in the university is the how. Why you do that, how to tackle this. We know what we want, but we do not know how. We go to the university and the university will teach us how to do this and that. Okay, when come to writing thesis, I always say to myself that this is actually my personal job. It is my personal job. I talk to myself that this is my personal job. It is me who is going to decide whether I can meet my why or not. And because of that, I look for the how. Many people can give you suggestion, but you must know every one of us have our own strength and our weaknesses. We have our own strength, we have our weaknesses. Nobody knows our strength. Nobody knows our potential. They seem to be knowing our potential and strength. So they start advising us or suggesting to us. But actually, we are the only one who know about our strength. So use your strength to do the things that within your capacity. I give you an example. One of the how is for you to know the topic is by reading. So read. What is the best time? You know. What is the best time that you read and everything goes into your head? 3 o'clock in the morning. You are the only one who knows that the best time for you to read is 3 o'clock. For others, it's not going to be the same. Some people maybe 10 o'clock at 10 p.m. Some people, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But to you, it's 3 o'clock. So you decide on that. So that is, for you, you have to read in the middle of the night. So you must know that that how is actually, you cannot suggest to anybody but you. Okay. So to me, that is how you explain the meaning of why and also the how in order for you to be able to complete your thesis writing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that redefining the how and why in our. I mean, in fiqh also we have the maqasid al-sharia. Maqasid al-sharia is more about why Islam asked to do something, the objectives of the higher objectives of the sharia. So knowing about will give you a confidence, a sincerity, a more commitment and dedication for doing the things. So that is a very good point we all should keep in our mind. Now, Muhammad Afiq has raised a question. Maybe both of you can answer the question. How to get rid of the feel of insecurity when doing PhD? PhD doing, so we feel insecure. Maybe so many reasons uh, you can imagine that. Maybe Dr. Pamilia can start answering, then we can move on to Prof.
Thank you, Dr. Syed, and thank you so much, Muhammad Afiq, as well. How to get rid of the feeling of insecurity when doing PhD. So, what I would actually recommend to you to actually explore is, do it. Be feeling insecure is part and parcel of doing PhD. It's very normal what a lot of people feel. Do we really need to get rid of it, or shall we try to first think about addressing it and then minimize it? Because getting rid of it might feel like every time you feel insecure, you might think, oh no, it's back again, and I feel really upset and disappointed with myself. So I would say, instead of getting rid of it, let's think of it in a way where we embrace that insecurity, find out where is that insecurity coming from. Is it because I don't know my topic well? Is it because I haven't started the writing that I wanted to start? Is it because I haven't even done my data collection yet? Or is it because I actually don't feel like I'm capable of finishing? So find out where is this insecurity coming from. And then we can manage it in a very effective way. This feeling of insecurity doesn't stop at PhD actually. It can carry on to a person's work life. It can carry on even in family life. It can carry on feeling insecure as a person playing the role in a family as well. So I would actually say that it's normal to feel that. A lot of people feel the imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome is where you feel that, you know, people find out that actually I do not know how to do this topic, or my supervisor know that actually I'm not a good student. Will they actually? So that's when you start to catastrophize. And catastrophizing is something a lot of PhD students go through. So I would like to share with you that, first of all, tell yourself that, you know what, I am only human. You can use this technique in psychology. We call it the yes but technique. Yes, I haven't finished a lot of my writing. Yes, I'm definitely left behind. But that does not define me as a human being. Yes, I really am behind and I have really been slacking a lot for the past few months, even since last year. But it does not mean that I'm a bad student, and it does not mean that I don't deserve to do my PhD. So when you can use this yes but technique, the insecurity will slowly become lesser and lesser because you will realize at the end of the day, we're only human. Am I right? So you know that when people ask a PhD student the question, the usual question when they ask them, how is your PhD coming along? Or what is your progress of your PhD? You have done your data collection, right? These questions are enough to evoke anxiety responses from most students. The moment they hear the dreaded question, let me share with everybody to ask a student, for a PhD student, how is your thesis coming along, by the way? How is your progress? How is everything? Did you graduate? That's the even more scary question. So usually these questions only a supervisor can ask and only another PhD student can ask a PhD student. You have immunity because if anybody else asks, especially family members or what, you tend to feel afraid to tell them I'm still in chapter 3 or I'm still in, the responses that we get after that is not something that we want to hear. So usually there'll be three responses. Number one, either you are enthusiastic and like, yes, it's going great. I'm just waiting for this and this. That might be one response. Or the more common response is silence and it's fine. And then you try to run away. The third response is you feel, please don't ask me. And then you say to them like, oh my God, or you try to cook up some funny response just to get them to get rid of, that, change the topic. So usually this is caused by that insecurity. And I'm here to share with you that this insecurity is something all of us go through and feel. That is where we need to actually address that perfectionist in us as well. And to kind of tell ourselves that yes, I haven't done completely and haven't finished completely. I haven't actually been on time with my Gantt chart, but it does not define me as a person, and it does not mean that I'm a failure. It's okay to be insecure as long as I know how to manage these feelings. So then you start to manage it. Before you know it, you forget about being insecure. So that's the amazing part about it. Remember how if I tell you right now not to think about, if I tell you, please everyone don't think about the pink dinosaur, for example, you will think about a pink dinosaur. How many of you saw Pink Barney? Right? So the more we try to fight something, the more stronger it becomes. So don't fight that insecurity. Kind of like embrace it, address it, and think about what's causing me to be insecure and how can I have a better cognitive reframing. Like you change the way you look at things and see it as this does not mean I'm a failure. This is just my progress right now, because of this and this and this, but I will move forward. So when you address that insecurity in that way, it will already diminish because fighting it headstrong will actually make it stronger. Thank you so much, Dr. Sai.
Thank you, Dr. Pamilia, for the tips you suggested for overcoming the insecurity feeling. Prof. Muhammad Amin can answer the same question.
Is it about self-confidence, right?
Yeah, a feeling of insecurity during the PhD, how to overcome that?
Okay, everything, so, come back to you. Uh, Actually, when we do PhD, you have to loosen yourself. You loosen yourself, feel free. And then, I mentioned just now some of the bad habit. Feeling of insecurity is actually when you think that making mistake is very bad thing. Don't afraid of making mistake. Everybody make mistake. Learn from Edison, making 1,000 mistake after he discovered the right way to invent the light, the lamp. Okay, so don't afraid of making mistake. The problem with us is, what if I answered wrongly? What if? Come on, just accept. You are student. You are student. Okay, accept the feeling of self-confident, normally we have the most when we entered the Viva room. Okay. Okay. Now, when you go into the Viva room, there is a Viva room strategy. We are so used to, we are so, captured with the word defend, okay? You want to defend your thesis. Sometimes you don't defend your thesis, you defend yourself. You have to defend your thesis, not yourself. That is actually, to me, is a bad approach, is a bad attitude. Learn that, learn, have the feeling that people are making mistakes. So if your mistake is being discovered during the Viva time, how do you want to respond? The easiest is, I'm sorry, I will go home, I will go back, and I will do the correction. The problem is, no, I have checked this. You didn't know that the examiner has already prepared, all other things, to 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 make sure that he is actually uh, uh, trying to show you that this is something that you need to correct. Throughout that feeling, it's only feeling. Dr. Pamilia will be agreeing with me. The feeling is you are in control of your feeling. You decide your bad emotion. You decide good feeling. You decide happiness. You decide sad. You decide. You can change, whatever feeling you want. So you control yourself by controlling your feeling. Anger, worry. You are the one who is in control. Self-confident, feeling insecure. Why feeling insecure? Feeling insecure because when you compare you with others, when you compare you with the others, then you feel insecure. Why must you compare with others at that particular time? It is you. So that is my answer to that question.
Thank you so much, Prof. Very wonderful answer, fantastic. And we have a couple of more questions from Kakere Abdu asking, how do you link the findings to the theory which underpin the study? I think it's more about related to the content, not more on the motivation, as I understand. Both of you can answer on that. How do you link the findings to the theory which underpin the study? Prof. Amin is saying, I don't have anything to say. So, Dr. Pamilia, you want to comment something?
Thank you so much, Kakari. So I think over here, this one, so first, before we link it, we need to know what the study is about and then what the findings are obtained. And then going back to the theory, usually when people ask you, how is your thesis like? What is your topic? Then you mention the topic. If the person is from an academic background, normally they will ask you, what theory is your topic on? What theory is your thesis on? So then you would say, normally you would say, I'm following, like for example, mine, I would say, I'm following Killian's 2004 framework, or I'm following Clue's 2012's, this participatory action framework and everything. So if you want to see how to link findings, is your finding in a nutshell, say for example, is a summary, the outcome that you got in your results, is it actually in line with what the framework showed? So very simple way is to look at what was your IV and your DV, what was their IV and their DV, what was their relationship between their variables, what was the relationship between your variables, and then you just link both of it in that way. So think of it as you're explaining your grandma, and how are you going to tell her, Grandma, let me tell you, this is what I got, this is what other people got. So how would you link it in a simple way? That's one easy way for you to look at it, because when we think in too much high theoretical way, sometimes we can get lost in the findings and trying to justify. But when you look at the big picture, what was that person trying to do in their framework? What are you trying to do in your framework? And how can we relate the two? Look at it in a simple way. Like what Prof. Amin said, he said, it's simple. Think of it in a simple way. Let's not complicate it at all. So if we think of it in a nutshell, actually what are they doing? What am I doing? And then I link mine with theirs. Is it in line? Is it new? Is it a bit different results? That's one easy way for you to think of it.
Thank you so much for answering the question. And maybe commenting on the question of the insecurity, we had in our IRK department a researcher for the PhD in Usuluddin. He joined for the PhD and he's 73 years old. I think Prof. Aslina does remember him, Dr. Abdurrahman. So I was helping him in some technical things. So whenever something insecure things are happening or the problem happening or something happened unexpectedly, the word he used, it is not the end of the world. That helped me in the future also for me. It is not the end of the world. We can just carry on. So, and the second thing about to have more clarity about the research, you try to talk about your research as much as possible in your friends, your family, even though they are not the experts. But when you try to explain them, you know how to make them convinced that this topic is more important and relevant. That will also help us in doing in our research in a way that is more convincing. So there is a question from Aisha to Dr. Prof. Amin. Can you share a little bit on how to expedite the thesis writing techniques that you mentioned earlier? Expedite thesis writing techniques, please. Yes, Prof. Amin. I think your voice is okay.
Okay, my voice is okay.
No, okay, no. Yes.
How to expedite writing? Okay. I am going to suggest you a very crazy suggestion. Not many people can agree with me actually. Okay, I hope I'm right about this thing. Okay, there's a lot of rule when we write literature review. A lot of rule that we need to follow. So as chapter 4, finding and discussion, we have to get the data first, then we read, then we write. So what chapter is the chapter that we write before we even start our research? Chapter 5. Chapter recommendation and conclusion. So we can conclude first before we do the research. Because, you know, some of the PhD student, PhD candidate, when they come for the very first time, they come and see the supervisor, they have a lot of suggestion to do, to suggest to the government what the government should do in order to improve the country without any fact, without any reference, without any anything that we can rely on. You know, to the kampong people that went to the, you know, to the warung and have their morning tea, they talk for hours about, you know, this, you should do this, you should do that. So we are. So you want to suggest many things. You write in chapter 5. Okay. I am suggesting that to my student. Write chapter 5. And then chapter 5 appear last, but you write first. And then you write abstract. Abstract, most people write last after you have done your thing. There is a very specific rule for writing abstract. What is so difficult about writing abstract? The most is what? 15 sentences. You start first, you last. Everybody knows when you read abstract, if you have read abstract 100 of times, you know already that that abstract is good or not. You already know. You can see, you can count the number of sentences, you know, and then you compare between the Bahasa Malaysia and Bahasa Inggris and Bahasa Arab. You know, oh my God, this abstract is not well written. You know already. But you can write first. You write first the thing that you want to do. What you want to do, you write. At that particular time, when you write the abstract, it's all 1, 2, 1, 2, you want to, you want to, you want to. When you have completed your thesis, the 1, 2 become what? Become past tense. The first time you read, future tense. When you completed your thesis, it becomes past tense. So you change to past tense. You may not do the one that written by you in the abstract in the first place, but that doesn't matter. you know that, we write our chapter 5 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times. After people come and do the comment, you have to write it again. That, the thing that you become so frustrated. But, coming back to the, process of doing thesis, that you must know the objective of why you want to do thesis. Okay, for me, I would like to tell the people out there, I want to improve the world. So I write chapter 5. Suddenly, the data that I discovered, the information that I discovered through my research, I cannot implement the suggestion that I have already written in the chapter 5. But what's wrong modifying chapter 5? Okay, when you do that, then you start writing chapter 1. Okay, and then you can write chapter 3 first. Chapter 3 is about what? Research methodology. Research methodology is all mostly the same. If you use the same technique, you want to have your own style of writing research methodology. You want to change SPSS from SUSS. You want to change R from R to Q. You want to change PLS to something else. No, it's the same. So you can write that chapter 3. And then now come what? Chapter 2 and chapter 4. Chapter 2 is about literature review. Chapter 4 is about finding and discussion. So the serious writing is chapter 2 and chapter 4. You cannot write chapter 4 when you have not done the research yet. Okay, and then you cannot write chapter 2 perfectly if you do not know the rule of writing chapter 2. There's a lot of rule in writing chapter 2. Okay, yesterday we heard about, one of the speakers in the second session talking about writing references. There are 7 styles of writing references. We use APA, someone use Chicago, and there are 5 more. So that is the last. For you to writing last mean writing according to what is required by the rule of writing thesis. You can write in your own way, it doesn't matter. So that is my answer to that question.
Thank you so much, Prof. Amin, for this wonderful replay. This is a different way of approaching the thesis, I think, very different. Interesting as well. So I think we have another 8 minutes to conclude the session. So now we have 2 questions. I think we can, by answering these 2 questions by 2 speakers will be the correct timing. So the question is, Prof. Amin and Prof. Pamilia also can answer. How many hours can we read or study a day normally? Okay, that's the first question. The second question, what is the best way of reviewing the literature? So each of you
Pamilia, you first.
Okay, each of you have maximum 3 minutes. After that, we can conclude the session within a time. Okay. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dr. Syed. Okay, so how many hours can we read or study in a day? There are many research that has actually been conducted to explore our attention span for a person to read and also study. So I'm thinking here, you're meaning studying and reading, like how much can our attention span actually capture? It says that in the first 15 minutes, usually that will be the highest attention span. So this kind of comes back to that don't break the chain technique, right? The 15 minutes per hour that you switch tasks. So that's actually one of the ways that the concept was actually built on as well. So the highest would be 15 minutes. And then when you go, it goes down a little bit from there. But there's a lot of recent research that shows there are ways that we can kind of, you can say, fine tune and refresh our mind in order to prolong these hours. But once again, actually, this will be very subjective to different persons. So different persons will be able to definitely prolong and read longer. But a simple rule of thumb, if you're going to spend 1 hour reading and reading and reading, as normal human beings, of course, our attention span will be definitely be compromised. There's something called Parkinson's law. So this is actually very interesting, whereby it says that our mind and our body, it tends to actually behave in a way to expand, and also behaviorally, of course, and also attentionally, to expand to the amount of time that we give it. If you say to yourself, I'm going to finish chapter 1 in 3 hours, you will somehow try to adjust to finish it in 3 hours or more, because your mind knows, I have 3 hours. What's the rush for me to start right now? I'm going to end at 4 p.m. So there's a chance for you to actually waver and procrastinate in between. So if you want to say optimal reading, that is why they actually cut the tasks into smaller tasks and smaller amounts of time with breaks in between. So if you're able to forego the break, it's fine. But usually taking a break, ideally the usual time is 25 minutes of this time and a 5 minute. You can do that. It's a very nice refresher. You kind of help your mind to refresh a little bit. So that would be kind of a time that I think would be helpful. So remember the Parkinson's law and also helping you to have a refresher. But remember, this is subject to different people. What is the best way of reviewing literature? Okay, Kakari. So I would say for this one, look at it in a simple way. Forget about the theoretical rules for just a moment and find out, why do we need to do literature review? Actually, why? Because imagine your thesis is a storybook that you're writing. You're going to start off with a little bit of introduction in your story. You actually are the actor as well in this story that you're writing. You have a lot of power in how the story is going to turn out in the end, depending on your data collection, which is chapter, its results section as well. So this literature review is going to be the part where you're going to be talking about what other people have done. So we're going to bring in all these characters right now from different people. These are different characters have been doing similar studies or similar variables. We're going to bring them in and we're going to discuss what others have done. And how do we arrange this chapter? Just think of it as an upside down triangle. I remember learning this before as well. A simple way is an upside down triangle. You start off with broad and general, then you narrow it down to become more and more specific to your study. So you're basically kind of what others have done, and then you're taking the gist of it, but that's not enough. You remember, you're telling a story here. So you find the connection between each of it. A very nice way that I was trained by my supervisors is to put it in a table. So you kind of have a table there, and you have all the different studies that you put there, and you find a connection between each of it while still doing the upside down triangle. Then you find a way to connect it and tell your story. So I think that's what I would like to say. Yeah. Thank you so much. Over to you, Prof. Amin.
Prof. Amin.
2 points here I want to raise. One is the issue of where you do your reading. In front of your TV, while you're having dinner, while you're having lunch, or at your side office. That is very crucial. You have to decide. So many people like to read in front of TV, then you know for sure you will be spending a lot of time reading while you are watching something. So do not read while you are watching TV. And so other things. Point number 2, why don't we capitalize on the technology? Why must you read? Can we listen? Meaning what? You spend so much time in a car, going to your office, driving. Why must you listen to music? Why must you listen to Hot FM? Why don't you bring in the thumb drive, which comprise of voices of someone reading the journal that you have chosen, put it into your radio and listen while you are driving. See how much you benefit the time rather than you focus on the reading time alone. You cannot read while you are driving, but definitely you can listen. Okay. And so as walking, when you go to do shopping, if you are the man, you have your husband, you have the wife, your wife do the shopping, you do the listening of someone talking about the journal of your area. So don't focus on it. Be creative. Don't focus on reading. Go to the listening. So you listen. That time you will see that you have a lot of time actually getting all those information that you want. Because the reason why you read is what? Why do you read? Because you want all the fact, all the information. Our ears also accept all those. So you use your ear to complement your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the both speakers. It was really a very enlightening session from both of you, Dr. Pamilia, Loudarnathan from the IIUM, and Associate Professor Dr. Mohmad Amin Idris from USAS. Now, I think all of us know whom should be approached or referred to when we have a depressed, more demotivated. We know for the both universities whom should we approach. In both universities, we have experts from whom we can get benefit. Not only we motivated, we got the tips to motivate our brothers and sisters, our students, when they also go through the depressed or the demotivated situations. So now we are coming to the end of the session. So may I request all of you to be ready for the group photo. You have to uh, switch on the camera and let's have a memory of this beautiful session. Also, I would like to remind you that the highlight of our whole program is happening after afternoon. Inshallah, 2:30 is the closing ceremony in which we have distinguished speakers and the speakers, Prof. Dato, Dr. Wan Sabri, Wan Yusuf, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic and Students Affairs from the USAS, Prof. Dr. Shukran Abdul Rahman, Dean of KIRKHS, IIUM, Prof. Dr. Ida Madiha, Dean of CPS, IIUM, and also we can listen to Prof. Latif from USAS, who will be commending. I mean, because we are going to announce the results and the first prize, second prize, and third prize, the winners. So, what were the criteria used for judging the poster presentation? We can also listen to that. So, let me remind again all of you to see you, inshallah, 2:30 in the program, inshallah. So I think all of you are ready for the group photo. There's the technician.
Okay, ready to group photo. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, next. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank you so much once again for the speakers. Wonderful session. Barakallah feekum. Jazakumullah khaira. Thank you so much on behalf of the committee. And let's conclude this session by reciting Surah Al-Asr and the Tasbih Kafara. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. See you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.